Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? It's me, Jim, and I'm here with a celebratory video. 10,000 subscribers. That's a milestone, isn't it? That's something. That's actually a real number. That's a genuine achievement, I think. But folks, I'm just getting started. 100,000 next week. 200,000 the week after. The reach of my garganical video will dwarf that of even, Despacito or some of the greatest, most highly viewed videos of all time. I think garganical Donkey Kong trapped inside of pyramid video will reach the widest audience anyone has ever reached with a piece of media. That's my prediction. Sorry about the plane going overhead. Every time I start recording, I tell you what, they send the planes overhead. They have some kind of wiretap on my microphone whenever it activates, and now's the time for the plane. I tell you what, man, those guys over at the airport have got it out for me. Anyway, I asked you guys to hit me with some questions for a Q&A, so here we go. First question was from Jackson Heilman, who asks, what are some other games / hobbies you like outside of Pokemon? Well, I'll be honest, Pokemon has consumed pretty much most of my time. Pokemon along with YouTube editing, or like managing the channel, making thumbnails, that stuff's time consuming. Plus I work, so far less time for casual gaming, but I do love classic World of Warcraft. That's one of my favorite games. I was playing a private server a little bit before I started going harder on the YouTube content. I love the old school games mostly. Even me playing Pokemon Showdown's kind of an old school thing. I like Pokemon because it's just the game. There's no like reward systems like there are in modern games that keep you addicted, keep you trying to get the loot box or whatever the hell. Probably makes me sound like an old man, but I like that Pokemon Showdown is just the game. There's no like, I gotta grind for, to unlock the new card pack or something. And I like games that are like that too. I used to play Super Smash Bros. Melee, but I haven't for a while. That's the other game I invested a lot of time into. I played that for about 5 years. I was never very good, but I enjoyed that. Yeah, as for hobbies, I don't know. Don't really have hobbies. Pokemon is my hobby. Alpha Rax asks, when did you hop into the competitive side of Pokemon? I think 2009 was the first time I played on Pokemon Online, or it might have been 2010. It was when I was very young. Pokemon Black and White was the current game. Black and White 2 not yet released, and I was playing Gen 5 Ubers with my buddies from school. And one of those guys from school was an absolute bastard. He didn't tell us anything he knew all the competitive mechanics. He knew about EVs, natures, everything. And he was running like some meta team with Groudon, Kyogre. I don't remember. It was probably Scarf, Kyogre, Water Spout, and he was just destroying all of us. And we were like, man, you're good. But he was withholding information. And I, out of curiosity, I wanted to beat this son of a gun. So that's where my competitive spirit for this game came from. And I learnt about like what an EV was. That was a mind-blowing moment for me, learning about all the intricacies of Pokemon. A game I never realized had as much depth as it did. I was purely motivated to beat that guy. And then I got good at OU. We started playing OU a bit after that. I actually got nuts. I started to grind ladder. My first team was a bad Hail team that was terrible, but then I started to realize what structures were good and what not. I started to run Politoed Rain teams, and at the time, Sand Rush was still allowed, so I used Stoutland Sand. That was my signature team that I got pretty high on the ladder with, actually, back then. And then I played one game versus my friend after hyperfixating on Pokemon Online for like a couple of months, and then I became insane, and he could no longer defeat me. He played one game against me, and he said like, oh man, Politoed's bullshit. Excuse my French. I'm getting demonetized. Politoad's nonsense. You're just using meta stuff. And that's when I knew that I'd finally defeated that guy. And that guy was better than us at every game. He was a master at StarCraft 2, League of Legends. To beat that guy in a game was a big moment for me. And then the rest is history. I've been playing Pokemon ever since. What's my favorite movie, asks Shivanka. I think my favorite movie is the movie Brazil, directed by Terry Gilliam, who is one of the guys from Monty Python. That movie is crazy. It is a parody of 1984, the book, which is about, like a dystopian future. I'm sure you all know the book, but it's like a wacky Monty Python version of 1984 where everything is made of like tubes and everything's like absurd and there's all this like bureaucracy and crazy imagery. It's extremely creative. It's profound. It's entertaining. It's got Robert De Niro randomly for like 2 seconds. That movie, that's got everything I want out of a movie. It's like, it's making a statement about the same statements probably 1984 is making, but in a more comedic way. But it's also just like, I just love a movie that's crazy, I love a movie that is just like unlike anything you've ever seen, and that's definitely that movie is like a creative achievement that I've not witnessed. That movie is nuts. I recommend checking it out. Brazil by Terry Gilliam. He's also got another movie called 12 Monkeys that I also think is super awesome. That's a time travel movie, and it's another great one. AJMD asks, how will Ash Ketchum's journey end? Honestly, I've not a clue. I haven't watched the Pokemon anime since I was a child, since it was Gen 1. At age like 5, that's when the Pokemon anime was high quality entertainment to me. Do people who are Pokemon fans who play like Smogon and VGC, do you guys still watch the Pokemon anime? Like, that's for babies, you babies. You guys watch that crap? It's not even accurate to the game mechanics, you absolute fools. Isn't it Pikachu hit Rhyhorn in the horn and it electrocuted him? That's not how that works. Ground is immune to electric. Do they have no respect for their video game? This is nonsense. I'm getting riled up, folks. This is a controversial video now. I'm only kidding. I don't know how Ash Ketchum... Is his journey ending? I saw some people say they're replacing him. I'm going to be honest. Who cares? Alright, next question. Christmas Cliff asks, is there an origin for your username? Well, my name in real life is a weird name. It's an uncommon name. I won't reveal what it is, but it's something a bit weird. So I like to, when I am like ordering Starbucks, or I don't actually order Starbucks, but places where they ask for your name. I don't like to say my actual name because it confuses people. I like to say Jim because it's the most generic name. So I started doing that like ages ago, and then somehow I started to use Jim. I kind of liked to refer to myself as Jim, so I called myself Jim online. But Jim is obviously too short to be like a username. It's 3 letters. It's a common name, so I had to change it. So I'd use like Jimothy, but then Jimothy's often taken, so I added Jimothy Cool, add an extra adjective on the end, and that's how I came up with that one. How interesting is that, folks? Malice asks, do you have an all-time favorite Pokemon? I think I've got 2 answers to this one. In terms of pure casual, as a child, gaming, and also like absent of any competitive bias, Dodrio is my favorite Pokemon. Not a very underwhelming Pokemon competitively, the same as every other normal flying bird, but also something about Dodrio. As a kid, I thought it was cool, which is, maybe I'm a complete weirdo, because, when everyone else was a kid, they liked, Charizard, Salamence, the cool Pokemon that are, like, flashy and, like, whoa, it's a big dragon. Me, I liked the 3-headed bird that looks like spheres for heads. Somehow it fascinated me that it could be 3 heads. I don't know. There's something about Dodrio that adds, it's like that's what a bird is like in this universe. It's, like, slightly different to a normal bird. There's something about that adds world-building elements. It's funny. It's a good name, Dodrio. It's a good name. There's 3 of them, so it's a trio, you know? Dodrio is a great Pokemon. But competitively, and I know it's a boring answer, but I gotta go with Tyranitar. Tyranitar is a beautiful Pokemon in terms of game design. That Pokemon has it all. It's, especially in Gen 3, the amount of different sets, the amount of, the way it shapes the meta in a healthy way. There's so many different ways you can run a Tyranitar in Gen 3. And then its continued reliability and it just being fun to use. Great presence in every metagame it's in. I love a Tyranitar. B asks, Jim, are you a smart fella or a fart smeller? I gotta say that I'm a smart fella. I don't know why I would ever say I'm the other one. That's yucky. I'm definitely a smart fella. Penguin Overlord 999 asks, what is your favorite competitive tier on Smogon? Gen 3 OU. Easiest question of my life. If you're not familiar with my older content, it was all Gen 3 OU. That was my main format, and it still is, honestly. I still view it as my main format, and Gen 9 is a little secondary thing. Gen 3 is the peak of competitive Pokemon. I would put it in the pantheon of competitive gaming in general. It's a beautifully balanced, competitive experience. The power level is just right. Everything lines up. Everything in the format lines up against each other so nicely. The structures are so well defined. There is such a sense of structure and, logic. It is rewarding. It is skillful. It is satisfying. It is just the greatest. It's the peak of competitive Pokemon, Gen 3 OU. Shaki asks, what made you want to create videos? Probably just watching YouTube as when I was a child, back when AVGN and Smosh were like my favorite YouTube channels. I made videos even back then. I used to make YouTube poops on a channel that is now dead. I liked the fact that anyone could just make a vid. It was a whole new thing back then, YouTube. The fact that anyone can just record some homemade one-man show video and post it online and could get all these views. That was a cool concept. Old YouTube is definitely a whole different world to new YouTube. Now it's all become like a business. Everyone's got the clickbait thumbnails. Even me, myself, I'm like considering the algorithm and all that. But back in the day, it was just like pure creative spirit. Just make random crap. Just make whatever the hell you want, like AVGN. In terms of making Pokemon vids, it's just the fact that I've played this game for so long. Of course, I want to just like make something out of it, I also just love just click and record and saying stuff. I've always enjoyed being in front of the camera and being a bit of an entertainer, having this persona. I enjoy all that, so it's a bit of an escape, maybe. Or not an escape, that makes it sound like my life is miserable or something. It's not, but it's kind of fun to like be Jimothy Cool for a little bit, This exaggerated version of myself that's a bit more humorous. It's fun. MZR asks, do you make music? I've made one song called Lemon Girl, which is on my channel. And after making that song, I decided that music was not for me. There was a little period a couple years ago where I was like, I want to be... Because I've always like fantasized in my head about learning how to make music and being a musician, because I really admire music as a form of artistic expression, as many people do. So I've always wanted to express myself through music, but after actually, I actually put a lot of effort into it. I learned music theory, learned a little bit of how to play the piano, and made some instrumental stuff that I didn't post anywhere, and then worked on a song. I was pretty happy with it, but the minutia and the tedious elements of making music are too powerful. If you're passionate about something, I think you can get over the parts that are annoying. Like for Pokemon, playing in Pokemon tournaments is an annoying experience, especially when you're from Australia. You got to schedule with people, figure out their time zones, do all this annoying stuff. And then scheduling stuff into your week when you got work and all this crap, it's like, many people would just be like, screw this, that's so annoying, I'm not doing that. But me, I'm like, I'll put up with that so I can play in a Pokemon tournament. And for vids, like, you know, I've experienced a little bit of burnout and, you know, like laziness with, I don't want to edit a video, that's annoying. But at the end of the day, I always do. Like, I always am like, I have this video idea, I want it to exist, let me do it. I'll push through the parts that are tedious and annoying because I have this genuine inner desire to do this. And that's what a true passion is, folks. I realize with music, I don't have that same passion. Even though I think we all have like these delusions of grandeur, like, oh, I want to be a movie director or some crazy thing. And then actually being a movie director is probably really annoying. You got to get funding and all this stuff. I know BKC's really into all that, and good on him. That's like, if you're really into it, you can put up with all that crap because you just really, really want your vision of a movie to be made. Me, no way. All that sounds like too much. Even though in my head I would love to be like a famous director, or that would be epic. But then you actually have to like do it, and then it's like, oh, I don't want to actually put work in. I just want to have the like a true passion is you don't mind putting the work in. Anyway, Harry Weldy asks, Neverhood profile picture inspiration? Just a fan of the game or the image? Yeah, my profile picture is a character from an old PC game called The Neverhood. People catch that every so often. It's an obscure game. It's a game I played as a kid. I'm a fan of the game. Very, very unique, weird game. It's made entirely of claymation, which is like, back in the 90s when it was made, I think that was a pretty nuts thing to do. It took a lot of effort, and it's really cool. It's you know, you're this little clay man, and you're trying to figure out like where the hell you came from and what this world is, and it's all clay and there's no one in it. It's got this very eerie feeling to it. There's these crazy puzzles. Yeah, there's not a game like that I've ever played. Although there's other point and click games that are awesome. They've got great stories, and especially from that era, really crazy point and click games, point and click adventures. But that one I think is like something unlike anything I've ever played. It's a crazy game. Pete S., who is a friend of mine, asks, what's your favorite vid that you've made? My favorite vid that I've made has got to be my Minecraft parody of the scene in Goodfellas, where Tommy whacks the character, I guess, spoilers for Goodfellas. Spoilers for Goodfellas. The scene where Tommy whacks Billy Bats after he tells him to go get his shine box. I made a Minecraft parody of that entire scene. And I got my friends in a server. We recreated the set from the movie. I was looking at each shot of the scene and then remaking it in Minecraft. I was the camera. I went into first person and filmed people and told them where to go. And then I edited it. I recorded all the voices myself. I don't know why I put such effort into this. For like no reason, but I did. And I think it's hilarious. I watch it every so often. I'm like, how did we make this? It's like the highest effort Minecraft parody of all time. Yeah, it's like all the lines from the movie are Minecraft related. I do find an ironic humor in Minecraft parodies. I always have. They never get old to me. I got a stupid sense of humor. Minecraft, like just replacing words in a song with like, you know, diamonds. It just gets me every time. And there's something about that super serious, violent scene from Goodfellas just being like completely Minecraft-fied. I think I will never make a vid like that again. Folks, if you haven't seen it, look it up. Minecraft Goodfellas. It'll probably come up. It doesn't have many views, but that's my magnum opus of my entire life. Here's frequent commenter Fella, who just says, "You are my favorite YouTuber," with nothing else. Thank you very much. That's not a question, but thank you. Mark Leonardo asks, how to be cool like Mr. Jim? You know? You just gotta cool off sometimes. You just have to... I don't know. Am I cool? I'm not cool. I play a game for children on the internet. That's not cool. Don't be like me to be cool. Cameron Leonard asks, what is your favorite video game of all time? I've got two potential answers. For many years, it was Earthbound. And it probably still is. I think Earthbound is a... You know, some people... I might alienate some viewers when I say this. I think that many video games that are revered for their storylines are kind of just like glorified movies. I'm someone that hates cutscenes and like the cinematic type games of the modern era. I'm a little bit of a video game boomer, I'll be honest, but I don't like the way a lot of modern games tell stories. I don't think that they're like taking advantage of the medium and what it can do in terms of storytelling. But Earthbound, I think, is like is a damn artistic achievement that transcends video games. I think it's that game is so crazy. Similar way to why I appreciate Brazil that I mentioned earlier. I can't believe that this is like a Nintendo product. There's just such crazy stuff in that game. It's so nuts. You know, it's kind of a great like interpretation of Western culture from like the Japanese point of view. It's like a new lens to look at Western culture. And it's got all these awesome sci-fi elements. It's got this crazy storyline. And the way that it actually like tells its story in some of these moments, there's moments of genuine like cosmic horror. Like the final boss battle of that game is unlike anything you'll ever see in a game. I guess I'll spoil Earthbound. The balls on them to make the final boss like this being that you can't even comprehend. It's like Lovecraftian. It's just the screen is filled with this horrifying face that like distort. It's like insane. And then the way you can't damage it. Like when I was playing that game, I was genuinely like fully immersed into this experience of like, what the hell is happening? This is like a being greater than... it sounds so corny to use the word immersed, but I think Earthbound does such a good job of it. I'm so engrossed into this absurd world. There's this section of the game called Moonside where like you flip into some upside down version of reality and like everything's backwards and there's paintings going around everywhere and there's like everything's inverted. And it's just like, what is happening? It's so many moments in the game. I'm like, what is going on? There's a moment where you play as this character who's on the other side of the world who, like, he's got to go up to the top of this hill and, like, meditate to do this trial for his, whatever culture he's from. And then there's some ghost comes and, like, starts removing all his limbs. It's like, what is happening? That game is so crazy. There's seriously nothing like it ever. And another one is a game I played recently called Deus Ex. It's another old game. It's a PC game, an FPS with a little bit of like RPG and progression elements. And I was blown away by that game. That's the first time in a long time where a game has like actually really, really engrossed me. I don't play many single-player games anymore, honestly. Pokemon takes up most of my time, and, like, single-player games just don't grab me like they used to, you know. But Deus Ex is, like, a game from that era that I love that is, like, this is something special, you know. The story in that game is fantastic, and, you know, I've just said that I hate video game stories, but that one is, like, the writing is so sharp. It's so funny. It's kind of like self-aware of the fact that it's a silly video game in a way that not many games are. That so many games take themselves so seriously. It's got this balance of understanding that it's a bit silly, playing into the humor of it, having this main character who's kind of like a cartoonish secret agent government guy. And they kind of understand that the silliness of that premise, but then at the same time, there's all this sharp social commentary and like this cyberpunk concepts and sci-fi concepts that actually like make you think about life and like the world we live in and stuff. It's like actually really profound, some of the stuff in that game. And the mechanics are fantastic. All the systems and the freedom the player has to just... I love a game that gives you freedom, you know? A game that treats you like an adult, you know? So many games handhold and force mechanics down your throat. This is a game that's just like, here's all these systems, you play, it's like a playground. You pick whatever you want to do. You can tackle things in so many different dynamic ways in that game. It's like stealth elements in this. You could just be fully aggressive builds, or you can just totally play your own way. I love everything about that game is just excellent. It's like a perfect video game in my eyes. And Earthbound has a lot of flaws, but I think it's just such a creative masterpiece that I don't even care. Anyway, next question. Nadib Drab asks, favorite mainline Pokemon game? Easy. Pokemon Emerald. You know, I think, even though I'm a Pokemon channel, I really dislike the new Pokemon games. I hate unskippable cutscenes and dialogue, and they're just full of them. I like a time when Pokemon understood its strengths as a franchise, you know? Pokemon's cool because you catch fantastical creatures and battle with them, and there's all these little mechanics and systems and cool creatures you can collect. Like, that's an inherently fun idea that a kid loves, that everyone loves. Why are we shoving a story down my throat and not letting me just play? Like I just said about Deus Ex. I feel like Pokemon Emerald, there's no, like, storyline. It's not like, Team Magma wants to capture Groudon. Okay, that's the extent of the storyline or whatever the hell. But I love the... You know, of course it was such a step up from Gen 2 to Gen 3. I love the way the sprites look. I love the world. I love all the Pokemon designs. I love everything. That's the one Pokemon game that I actually have respect for and I return to. You know, many of the Pokemon games, you beat the 8 gym leaders. It's kind of like they've copy-pasted the same game 20 times. Pokemon Emerald, I actually think, is like Pokemon at its best. Where they were like, this is what Pokemon is all about. Many people would say like Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Valid. Those games are good too. But to me, Pokemon Emerald is the one. Love everything about it. Cass Y asks, how was your day? It was good. My buddy's here, and he made us a pasta for dinner, and that was fun. It was very nice. You guys ever have fresh pasta? Fresh homemade pasta? It's really delicious. You should have some. Haha asks, are you a dog person or a cat person? And also, what is your favorite vegetable? I'm a cat person for sure. I have a cat. I love... Cats are funny creatures. You know, a dog is more high maintenance. They're very full on, very energetic, and they kind of demand your attention all the time. A cat is kind of just living its own life, but occasionally they say hello. I think they're a fascinating creature. I like watching them do stuff. The way they can just jump onto a table from the floor. They got those flexible spines. You just watch them do stuff, and they're just doing some weird stuff. You know, they'll just be like, let me, for no reason, squeeze my spine below this, like, gate to, like, eat a blade of grass on the other side and then come back. Like, did you really need to eat that blade of grass? Nah, you just, like, let me just be the most flexible limbo of all time to eat. They'll, like, sleep on random stuff. Like, you'll leave a cardboard box on the floor from when you were unpacking, and then that's their bed now. They'll just sleep on there. They're just a funny... I just love, going downstairs and my cat's doing some weird crap. And it makes me laugh a little bit. I like a cat is just a funny creature. It's a funny creature. A dog, I understand a dog. You want some companionship, some camaraderie. A cat is like a roommate. A cat is just like a funny guy doing random stuff. And sometimes you guys hang out, but Anyway. Rajan is asking a heavy-hitting question. Who or what is your biggest inspiration? Not necessarily related to Pokemon or YouTube, but life in general. I mean, damn. Well, in terms of YouTube, my biggest inspiration is Video Game Donkey. That's my favorite YouTube channel. I love his sense of humor and the way he can just make a video about whatever he wants and people will tune in. He's sort of established this legendary status. That's always my dream, is to be like that, but I'm kind of tied to this Pokemon niche for now, which is fine. I like it. But I do admire anyone who can just like make a vid about whatever they want. There's another channel called Amp Lemon, who I vibe with a lot. He made a vid recently about how back in the day he made YouTube poops and all his journey as a YouTuber. That was really interesting, and I was there for all the stuff he was there for. We're about the same age, so it's just super cool seeing him come so far and develop this. He makes like these super in-depth documentary style videos that are really, really high quality and great. And it's cool to think that he came from like the same origin point I came from, which was like being a kid making YouTube poops for fun. That's kind of cool, seeing someone grow like that to make high quality videos. In life in general, I don't know. I don't know if I have a biggest inspiration, but I really like the singer Marvin Gaye. I don't know if you guys know him. He's a soul musician from the 60s. I think he's very cool because he was a very passionate musician who would always sing about what was on his mind. And there's his album What's Going On is one of my favorite albums, and the story behind that album and its inception is very interesting. He made videos about like a lot of issues in America. I just said videos. Music. He made music about a lot of the issues in America, and like they didn't want to let him, like the record company didn't want to let him put it out there because it was too controversial. It wasn't safe in their eyes. Most soul artists like him just made music about typical stuff like romance, whatever the hell. But he just wanted to make music about that, and he like fought for this album to exist. He threatened to like he put his whole career on the line or something. He like threatened to sever ties with this big record company if they didn't let him publish the music he wanted to publish. And then they had to fold to his will because he was too valuable of an asset to them. I think that's awesome. I think that's an awesome story. I'm not going to do anything that profound or cool or epic, but stuff like that does inspire me, And that story, I may have butchered the details of it, but that's the gist, I don't know. The exact minutiae of it, I don't know. Best strategy for growing a YouTube channel, asks Groundback. It's a complex question. I don't know. I mean, I'm not like... I've been making videos for a very long time, and only recently have I found something that's actually getting more views than I've experienced in the past on a consistent basis. It's a lot of trial and error, I think the biggest thing is what made the difference for me this time around is swallowing my pride a little bit and actually trying to put my head into like, what do people want to see right now? What is a gap I can fill with my knowledge and what I know about Pokemon? What kind of videos do people want to see right now? And I tried to genuinely answer that question. Put myself into the shoes of some average Joseph watching Pokemon content. What do they want to watch? It's easy to make content that I feel comfortable making. That's easy. That's fun to make purely for this, like, selfishly. And of course, to an extent, that's what YouTube should be about, like making whatever you want. But the reality is that not everybody wants to watch that. So I guess if you want to grow your channel, you got to be like, what is my channel going to be? You got to like, what is my channel's identity going to be? What gap can I fill? And there's always opportunities when like a new game comes out or some new thing comes out, some new niche gets popular. There's always opportunities for you to fill a gap of content in that niche, you know? When Gen 9 came out, that was my moment where I'm like, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to be the Gen 9 guy. Let's try it. And it's paying off pretty well so far. I'm happy with how it's going. But I've seen it happen, you know? I played this card game called Legends of Runeterra, the League of Legends card game. And I saw like new channels blow up off that game, you know, because it was like, there was hype surrounding it. It's a new, like, a lot of Hearthstone people were trying out that game. And then a couple of guys established themselves as like, I'm the Legends of Runeterra guy now. There was a gap and I filled it. There's always an opportunity like that. And you got to just put real effort into it and be like, what do people want to see? Let me actually do it. Let me post on this consistent basis. Get people like used to watching my vids. Whatever. I don't know if that's... I'm not like a YouTube expert or anything, but I guess that's my advice. Based on my limited experience of what's done well for me and what I've seen do well. Another friend of mine here, Sayo, asks, do you see yourself creating content about anything either within or outside of competitive Pokemon, such as tournament recaps and highlights? Content about the mainline games, or maybe even the TCG. I would like to host tournaments and do tournament commentary for sure. I've got ideas in my head about that, especially Gen 3 stuff. So stay tuned for stuff like that. I do want to highlight Gen 3, my favorite format, and bring more attention to it if I can. Content about the mainline games, probably not. I don't have anything really to say about them. That's not where my passion lies, honestly. The TCG I've never played. Outside of competitive Pokemon, I mean, I would love to do like miscellaneous stuff like movie reviews, talking about random topics that interest me, but I don't know how well that'll do. You know, when you're a YouTube channel, YouTube kind of hates it when you stray from like what you've been doing. It's like, just make this thing forever. And that's fine. I mean, Pokemon is a good... I like being a Pokemon guy on YouTube. But I admire channels that do like movie reviews and talk about like Emp Lemon I mentioned. So, Video Game Donkey. His style, he just makes videos about whatever the hell he wants. I want that freedom too, sort of. But it's obviously not realistic. I don't know. And I mean, competitive Pokemon, I will always make vids for, and it's like my favorite game, so I'll always be playing it, always making vids for it. It's not like this is something I don't want to do. I played this game for years. It's my main hobby, honestly, playing competitive Pokemon Smogon formats, so I'm happy doing this for the time being. It's Me Digi asks, what do you do for work, and what other hobbies do you have? The moment I do admin work at a medical practice, which is a pretty chill job. Other hobbies I mentioned before. Pokemon and YouTube have consumed most of my time these days. And when I do have free time, I'll usually do something like watch a movie or like watch some YouTube videos or do stuff like that. I like cooking, and I've started listening to audiobooks, but that's not really a hobby, is it? Been listening to the Dune audiobooks. Those are cool. Fella with another comment, welcome back, asks, what is your favorite food? My favorite food is probably... What's my favorite food? Good question. I think my favorite food is probably just my nonna's tomato sauce. It's a simple answer, but I've got, sentimental value associated with that, and she's an Italian grandmother, and she's naturally very good at cooking, so I love a good tomato sauce hits the spot, really. Favorite movie? Already answered that. Brazil. By Terry Gilliam. Check it out. Voltebro, thank you for the question anyway. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for taking the time. Omega asks, favorite Mega Evolution in Pokemon? Design-wise, I love Mega Gyarados. I like that pre-Mega it has Water Flying and Intimidate, and then post-Mega it has Water Dark and Mold Breaker. There's a lot of nuance in like when you want a Mega, when you don't want a Mega. I love a Mega that's totally different, that does totally different things. In terms of my favorite Mega to just use though, probably Mega Lopunny. In Gen 7, I really liked super aggro teams, and Mega Lopunny just went crazy. That Pokemon outspeeds everything. You have Fake Out to like, oh, go back in, Fake Out, go back in, Fake Out over and over. And then you have like Return, High Jump Kick, and Scrappy. Just an insane offensive beast that Pokemon was. I love Pokemon like that. Like, even though I'm not going to say Iron Bundle should be back in the game, Iron Bundle was my guy. That Pokemon, I chucked it on every team. That's my, just a fast guy that kills everything. Aerodactyl in Gen 3. Fast, owns everything. That's my kind of Pokemon. That's a gamer's Pokemon. I love it. Munby asks, what is your favorite vid with under 200 views? On my own channel, I assume. I think the Goodfellas one has more than 200 views. So probably not that one. I used to make random top 5 videos of like that I just completely improvised. That was a weird time in my life where I would have a horrible sleep schedule, and at like 3 a.m. I would just record a random unhinged video for no reason that nobody watched or cared about. It was like a way of letting off steam or something. So I've got this video called Top 5 Blokes. I watched that recently. I was like, this is a time capsule of my state of mind back then. This is just total nonsense. And it was kind of fun. I still have the same sense of humor, but I will never be able to make something like that again. It's just the state of mind you had to be in. So that's probably my answer. Top 5 blokes from back in like 2014. That was a video and a half. Favorite Pokemon? And since I'm sure you've been asked that already, favorite game series that isn't Pokemon? Mine are Fire Emblem and Elder Scrolls. That was a question from Atomic X 160. Thank you. I answered the favorite Pokemon question. It was Dodrio and also Tyranitar in terms of like casual and competitive. And favorite game series is probably Mario, as boring that as that is. But Mario, like, the amount of banger Mario games is insane. Mario World, Mario Bros. 3, Mario 64, Mario Galaxy, Mario Odyssey, Mario Galaxy 2, Mario 3D World. Like, there's such a high quality in that franchise, and they're all very, very fun and good games that are just well designed, snappy, good experiences that I often revisit too. Like my most revisited games are those games. Mario World I've played a million times. Mario 64 is timeless. I replayed Mario Odyssey recently. That game is just fantastic. Mario Galaxy was what I considered my favorite game for a very long time. Now I've changed my mind, but that's still like definitely in the top 10 for me. Mario Galaxy is fantastic. Yeah, Mario, the most obvious answer of all time, but there's a reason that that franchise is as popular as it is. It's like consistently great. Can I rank my top 10 favorite Pokemon? I would have to think about it. I've given you I would do it in a competitive context if it's a top 10. If it's casual, I don't know. But number 1, Tyranitar. I'll hit you with some random miscellaneous ones, I guess. I love Mamoswine. I think Mamoswine is a beautifully designed Pokemon. I think like whoever made Mamoswine has an understanding of the game, because it's an ice ground, which means it is not rock weak. It's neutral to rock. It's neutral to ice because ground and ice. It has thick fat to give it a fire resist. And it has the greatest offensive stab combo, Ice and Ground, which is like beautiful coverage. And it's not too fast. It's not too overwhelming. It's like just a beautiful Pokemon. In Gen 4 and 5, that's one of my favorite Pokemon to use. Unfortunately, not like a mainstay. Power level caught up to it. But one of my favorite Pokemon to use in Gen 5 OU is Mamoswine. I love it as a breaker. I love it in Gen 4, even though even Gen 4 is not that great, but it's like probably my favorite Pokemon in Gen 4. I'm such a Mamoswine fan. Some others, I love Doug Trio in Gen 3. I love in that metagame that trapping is balanced, and I love the element it adds to the game of like, could they have a Doug in the back? I can double the Doug in these situations where they will go to Celebi or Magneton or whatever, you know. I recently played in a tourney game where I went to Skarm against a Snorlax, and then the next turn I went straight to Doug Trio and they went Magneton because they were trying to trap my Snorlax. Like, I love what Doug adds to the game. There's such gaming that you can do. You can like win a game instantly with Doug if you just make an insane read. Or I also love that Doug perfectly outspeeds +1 Dragon Dance Tyranitar. I love that it's like, even though it's like an offensive Pokemon with a choice band, it's like this defensive Pokemon because it threatens to eliminate things. I love that you can like sack and threaten to go Doug, or like the Doug in the back is just such a, it just changes the way you play completely. I love the impact it has on Gen 3 OU. What else do I like? I don't even know. Oh, I love Crawdaunt. Crawdaunt is awesome. The idea of a slow breaker that just does enormous damage with stab. And its stab types are really good. And has Aqua Jet too, so you can do Aqua Jet mix-ups. Like, oh, I'm Crawdaunt in against your Blacephalon. Oh, but I clicked Knock on your incoming Ferrothorn, and now you're getting 2-hit, you idiot. I love Crawdaunt. Victini's another one. Victini's awesome. V-Create. Big Nuke. I mentioned Aerodactyl, Gen 3. Love Aerodactyl. Love Charizard in Gen 3. Yeah. That's enough for now. I'd have to think about that further and like rank them and stuff. I could do that in a vid. Danny Phantom asks, do you participate in VGC matches? I tried VGC. I gave it a fair go, I think. Back in 2019, when it was Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon, and they had the restricteds allowed, I went to a regional tournament, and I was like really training for it, and built a team, did all this stuff, got this stupid PK Hex, don't tell Nintendo, and I just don't like it. I don't like that way to play. And I think, like, the reason I like single 6v6, it's more long form. You know, another style of game I enjoy is like card games. I used to be really into Hearthstone. I like, you know, a longer form battle where I got to think over a long period of time. VGC is just like, it's over in a few turns. There's no longevity to a VGC game. It's like, it comes down to a few reads, which I don't like. I like a macro game where I'm considering all of my Pokemon as like resources, like chess pieces. And like, I got to save my Swampert health. I got to save my Blissey. I got to keep my Gengar from being chipped so it doesn't die to, you know, +1 HP flying. All these things that you consider in singles, it's different. It's like you're managing resources and you have like offensive power that has this feeling to it. I just prefer that type of gameplay. VGC is more like, okay, are they going to beat up their own guy or not to get the justified boost and then Tailwind and kill your whole team? Are they going to protect on the Groudon when you fake out and then double tap your guy that's faking out? It's like there is nuance to it. There's depth to it. It's cool. I like doubles, but I think that I just prefer singles. I prefer what it has to offer. King Raska asks, do you play other competitive games? If you do, what games? Like I said before, I did play Smash Bros. Melee for a long time, but I eventually came to the unfortunate realization that I will never be good at that game. And I don't really have, my heart was not really in that game as much as I wanted to be good at that game. That was never like my game. My game is for sure Pokemon. Like, no doubt about it. In terms of other games, I was into Legends of Runeterra, the League card game, and Hearthstone back in the day too. Like Hearthstone, I got Master. It was Legend, it was called, sorry. I got Legend all the time. Legends of Runeterra, I got to Master rank, which was the equivalent of Legend. And I was really into the tournaments and all that, but I actually really like Legends of Runeterra. That's like my kind of game, but unfortunately I don't have the time to invest like that much time into another competitive game. I have to focus on one thing, and Pokemon is demanding my time at the moment. So Mr. Shrubelhupf, yay. Interesting username, says, is your content going to change competitive Pokemon in Gen 9? Of course it is. My content is going to have a lasting impact on competitive Pokemon in Gen 9. Absolutely. And we're here with the final question from Giuseppe. What is your best memory regarding Gen 3? I'm sure it would be a wholesome childhood moment. Pokemon Sapphire was my first Pokemon game, and I got Pokemon Ruby for the All Saints holiday, an Italian holiday. I also completed the Leaf Green Pokedex with all 386 Pokemon. Some kid had Celebi in my town, and me and my cousin ran through my town just to get it. Love your content and your sense of humor. As always, keep up the good work. My favorite Pokemon memory regarding Gen 3. I remember when I got Gen 3, I was on a family trip in Hawaii. And while we were on holiday, the game came out in America. And we got it from GameStop. Pokemon Ruby. And I remember just, playing it for the first time. It was so epic. Me and my brothers and my family friends too, we were like enamored with it. We were all playing it. And there's this sense of like collective enjoying this new thing. That was cool. I can't think of like a particular memory. I was always bad at the Pokemon games, to be honest. I guess catching Groudon was a big moment. I don't know. There was no like I got a shiny, or like I got this cool guy, or my friend had a Mew or whatever the hell. None of that really. I had a pretty boring Pokemon experience, I guess. But the game itself was magical at the time, and just the whole community around it. I remember, like, I went back to school after that holidays, and then everyone was talking about Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire. Like, that was the big thing. And it was cool back then when, like, everyone was into the same thing. It was like this sense of community, which you're never going to achieve that again. There's nothing quite like that, like the sense of... And then that was pre-internet when like games had secrets to them, like, oh, how do you get Regirock and all this stuff. Some guy had the damn Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire manual that had all this secret info. Like, whoa. There was a sense of wonder to the Pokemon world at that time. Now that's not the case anymore, really. Anyway. That's it, folks. That's the video. That's all the questions. Thank you so much for 10k subs. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you for being here on my YouTube journey with me. I'm going to keep making vids, of course. And I don't even know what to say right now. It's a bit surreal getting 10k. I'm sort of detached from it all. I'm just pumping out vids like a assembly line, not stopping to smell the roses, really. I had a celebratory nice beer the other day, a craft beer that was very delicious, in honor of 10k subs. And I'll probably take it easy a little bit, try to smell the roses. But folks, Gen 9, gaming, epic. Thank you for watching. You guys are great. I'll see you later.